Hi everyone, and welcome to Moxxie Life Coaching. I'm Michelle, and I'll be your host as we explore what life coaching is and how it can empower you to create and live your best life. We'll talk about topics ranging from our own self-defeating behaviors to getting to know our authentic selves. Together, we'll investigate a variety of self-coaching modalities and explore a wide range of topics relevant to getting the most out of the life that you are actively creating. New episodes will drop every Tuesday, so please subscribe so you don't miss out on the great hints, tips, and tricks, and generally awesome content that will help you create your best life. So welcome, and thank you for listening. Hi everyone. I have an announcement before we get started today. And the announcement is that I have 2 free courses coming out in the very near future. The first is a free pilot course for what will eventually become a paid course. And the concept of the course is essentially that until we have a clear idea of who we want to be, it's a lot more difficult to create that person. I know that for myself, there has been a lot of, well, I'm not really pleased with where I am, but I'm not really sure where I want to go or what I want to do or who I want to be. And I guess I probably should take a little bit of time to figure that out. Um, I equate it to, wanting to be some championship chef, right? I love to cook so much. I'm dying to be a championship chef. I want to be the champion, but I have no idea what recipe I'm going to use. It's that deep desire for knowledge of ourselves without really knowing how to get there. And so this course is designed to help you get a feel for who that person is. And it's also set up to be fun, ideally, laid back, and really supportive. I'm trying to develop a supportive community where people can go if they are struggling. And in my experience, people in the coaching community, whether you are a coach or whether you are someone being coached, you're naturally just somewhat of a helper type person. So I think that anyone interested in listening to this podcast is going to be a great course member and partner in learning all of this stuff. And the course is set up so that we will, over 2 hour-and-a-half sessions, so a total of 3 hours, we will be writing our autobiography book cover. And we will choose the picture that we want that's going to represent us, and we will write the bio that we want that's going to represent us and who we want to be. And so the whole thing is laid out to be just super fun. There is writing involved, but there is no, red pen English teacher, any of that. In this course, I personally am far, far more interested in providing a tool for you to gain this knowledge, not judging how you're using the tool, I guess is what I want to say. So please don't feel like you have to be a writer in any way, shape, or form. All right, that course is scheduled to begin on September 14th. It will meet for 2 consecutive Tuesdays from 7 to 8:30. And you can sign up for that course at the Moxxie Coaching page on Meetup. And I will put a sign up link to the sign up in the show notes for you. So I really hope to see you there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And the second course is launching this Friday, July 30th, and this is a short, informal course called Getting to Know Yourself Better Through the Tarot and Numerology. And in this course, you'll learn to calculate your birth card using numerology, and then you'll learn the characteristics and traits, strengths, weaknesses, and those types of things about your particular birth card. Each of the 9 birth cards has, I would say, roughly a 10-minute average video, just describing and discussing these innate traits that we all have. And I thought it would be a fun way to help people get a feel for what the tarot can do for them in terms of the self-coaching. And honestly, it's just really fun because, once you know someone's birth date, you can calculate their birth card. And similarly to their astrological sun sign, you can get a little bit more feedback or information about who they are as a person. And, you know, everybody loves doing that. That's a lot of fun. So that course, as I said, is launching Friday, July 30th. And for that course, what you'll need to do is go to the Moxxie Coaching website at www.moxxiecoaching.com. Moxxie, Moxxie. And then you can go to the free course tab up on the top and you can access the course there. So I hope that you take advantage of that and enjoy. I would love to have any feedback anyone would like to provide on that course as well. So please feel free to finish the survey at the end of the course or drop me an email. Either or both would be fantastic. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you all at some of these courses. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Moxxie Coaching Podcast. Today, we are going to do a walkthrough of a tarot reading in the style of the Illustrator. And if you missed last week's podcast, we broke down tarot readers into 4 categories: the purist, the illustrator, the oracle, and the aggregator. And the illustrator is someone who's brand new to tarot. This person may or may not even have an interest in learning the ins and outs of the cards themselves. They might just be interested in using them purely for the purposes of self-coaching. And the tarot cards truly can be used in that manner, and that's how the illustrator operates. And I thought we could walk through a reading together to give you a better idea of how you can access your own subconscious, you can access your own higher self through this exercise. And I'm really hoping that you all find it as valuable as I do. If you'd like more information about the different types of readers, you can go ahead and just skip back to podcast number 19, and you'll have all of the information there. Also, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that if you have a deck, it would be a good time to pull it out, and it's easier to follow along if you have a visual. If you do not have a deck, you can go to the Moxxie Coaching website at moxxiecoaching.com/freebies. And there you can download a PDF of all of the Rider Smith Waite card images. And that way you'll be able to follow along and you can look at the cards, and it probably will make a little bit more sense to you if you have those images in front of you. I should probably mention here that we're going to go through the dry part of this, and then at the end, we'll do a case study. So it will all become a lot more clear. All right, let's get started. The core of this exercise is about using writing to tap into your subconscious and to tap into your higher self. We're using the images on the cards to spark the higher self and to spark the intuition and the subconscious. The writing part of this exercise really is key. So I certainly don't discourage you from playing around with the cards in whatever way you would like, but I will let you know that you'll get a whole lot more out of it if you take the writing portion of this to heart. Because what it does is it forces us to articulate our feelings. And forcing us to articulate forces us to bring clarity, right? It forces us to be able to explain it to someone else. And I know myself that even when I'm reading tarot in general, I will often write everything down because it forces me to be more clear. And I can look at a reading and say, gut instinct, yep, great. But there's something different about putting words and putting pen to paper that, at least in my opinion, expands the utility of the tarot exponentially. Now, don't worry if you start writing and you go down some little literary bunny trail. Just keep writing until you don't have anything left to say. Yep, it might be long, but that's okay, because the concept is that you're practicing your writing because eventually that writing is going to be a tool to help you further tap into your subconscious. So let it flow. The whole idea is to avoid judging it, just allowing the words to come and putting them on the paper, not even thinking about what's coming out of your mouth. Now, in terms of asking an appropriate question, well, that's important, and we talked about that back in podcast number 18. So I will refer you back to that uh, in terms of asking how to ask an appropriate question where you are most likely to get a fulfilling answer. So you have your journal or your paper and pen. And I highly encourage you to put writing utensil to paper as opposed to typing it. And I'm guilty of that because I type so much faster than I can write. But the manual connection between the hand and the brain and the physical connection on the piece of paper, there's something in the act of writing that's magical that you will surprise yourself if you take this to heart and just let the thoughts flow unjudged. All right, so you have your journal, you have your writing utensil, and you have your question. What you're going to do next is take just a few minutes, and I'm talking 2 or 3 take as much as you want. Uh, Yoga and meditation before reading the tarot will blow your mind, but we don't always have time to do yoga and meditation before we do the tarot. So just take a couple minutes to center yourself. Just sit down, close your eyes, think about the question that you formed, and start allowing. Invite in your spirit guides or your intuition or your higher self or none of that. Completely up to you how you approach it. You can invite in your subconscious, and just letting your subconscious know that you are interested in accessing what it has to tell you will help you out a lot. Rethink your question and pick up your cards and just start shuffling your cards. Just, like the overhand shuffle. You don't have to get crazy with that little bridge thing and all of that. Just put your hands on the cards while you are considering what you're going to be asking them. And allow some of your energy to flow into those cards. Then take your deck, put it face up in front of you, and smoosh the cards all around the table. Alternatively, if that would drive you crazy, lay each card out one by one in some sort of pattern where you can see them all. The whole idea here is to give yourself the visual, to open up this pail of tarot goodness, look down and start to draw some inspiration from it. Next, you're going to spend a few minutes looking at the cards and just noticing. Then choose the card that illustrates how you're feeling right now. Look at the pictures. Don't worry about what the traditional meanings are. They're completely irrelevant right now. Just think about what card illustrates your state of being. And then I want you to write down the name of that card. I want you to set it aside and write down the name of that card and ask yourself 3 questions. And regardless of whether the answer is yes or no, you should explain the rationale for that answer. Oh, my teacher's coming out. Just explain why you said yes or no. Okay. Question number 1. Did it evoke a feeling? Is that why you picked that card? Because it evoked a feeling in you and that's why you chose it. Did it evoke a memory? Something you remembered or something you thought of from before? Or did looking at that card create some sort of bodily sensation? A flutter in your stomach, a cramp in your shoulder, anything where there was a noticeable reaction. And a lot of people would say, the gut reaction, and that is a real thing. So if you got happy butterflies, fantastic, but if you got a rock in the pit of your stomach, that's powerful as well. So you're going to take some time and you're going to write about these cards. And it's really important that you, as I said earlier, that you just let everything flow. You don't think about what you're writing. You don't judge what you're writing. No judging, no judgment zone, zip, zero, nada here. This is all about just letting what's in there out here. Okay. Once you have finished writing your answer or answers to the card that illustrates how you're feeling right now, you're going to choose a card that represents how you want to feel. And you're going to see yourself in that card. And it doesn't have to be a card of a person. It can be anything that gives you the feeling that you want to have in this situation. And again, you're going to answer your 3 questions. Did it evoke a feeling? Did that card evoke a memory, or did that card bring forth some sort of bodily sensation? Next, you're going to look for cards that represent the other people involved in the situation. So it could be anyone, clearly. It could be a coworker, a family member, a friend, does not matter. But the whole idea is to choose cards for each of those people and then write down why you chose them, because in writing down why you chose them, you're likely to uncover some subconscious beliefs about these people, and it will help you identify a little bit more why you're feeling the way you're feeling, hopefully. All right, choose a card or cards that represent the situation. And I say choose cards plural because sometimes you can't just illustrate something in one single card. So if you need to, choose more than one card, but just try not to choose too many. You don't want to dilute the reading. You just want to be enough that you can be clear. And then ask your questions. Did it evoke a feeling? Did it evoke a memory? Did it bring on a bodily sensation? Next card, you're going to choose one that represents how you would like the situation to be resolved. So, what would you like to happen? Choose that card. Choose it, create it for yourself by choosing that card. Let your subconscious help you choose how you want that situation to be resolved and put that energy out there. Certainly we can't guarantee it, but if that energy is never created and released, nothing's going to happen, right? The last card you're going to choose is the card that represents what you can do in this situation. And this is a tough one sometimes, but please take the time to do that. Is there anything that you can see in front of you that, oh, wow, yeah, oh gosh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I could do that. I could approach it this way. Find the card that best illustrates that for you. Consider looking for a card that will help you change how you're thinking about it, because that in and of itself is some forward momentum and gets you to start thinking about empowering yourself to move forward through whatever it is you need to move forward through. So that is the nuts and bolts of the reading. Now we're going to go through the case study that I put together, and I think this will bring everything together for you. We're starting out with a woman whose name is Clarice, and she just found out that someone at work has been undermining her with her boss. And she's angry and she's frustrated and she's worried. And after realizing that she's been on the hamster wheel for about 3 days, she decides to pull out her tarot cards and hopefully get a little bit of insight into the situation. The card she chose that represented her and illustrates how she was feeling was the Eight of Swords. And she chose the Eight of Swords because she identifies with the woman in the picture. The woman in the Eight of Swords is standing there with her arms bound against her body, with a blindfold on, surrounded by eight very sharp swords. And she feels like she can't move from fear of not knowing what to do. However, if she were able to just remove that blindfold, she would see that all she has to do is very gently lean up against one of the very sharp swords, and she can cut the bindings and she's free. But she is unable to see that. And that is how this woman feels. She feels trapped and unsure of herself. So Clarice is going to write down why she chose that card. And she chose the card because she feels like the woman in the picture. She feels that sense of being contracted, being blind to the situation, being unclear about really what's going on, and being frustrated about not being able to do anything about it. Next, Clarice is going to choose cards for the other people involved in the situation. And she chose only 2 people, but she chose 3 cards. So the first card she chose was to represent her boss, who is a strong, independent woman. And Clarice chose this card because looking at this image of the Queen of Swords, reminded her of her boss, this very stern looking, smart, down to business woman that you really don't want to be called in front of. um, just very no nonsense. And that is Clarice's image of and impression of her boss. So what does that say? That says that, boy, maybe she's a little intimidated by her, or it says maybe she's enamored of her, that she thinks she's just such an amazing role model. It doesn't matter, right? We're just writing down why. And for her coworker in this situation, she pulls 2 cards, and she chooses the 7 of Swords and the 5 of Swords. And she chooses the 7 because in the 7 of Swords, and you will see if you take a look at your deck or if you download the free deck, but in the cards, in the 7 of Swords, there is someone who is slinking away from a situation in what looks to be a situation where they're taking something that's not theirs, where they're sneaky or they're untrustworthy in some form. And that's how Clarice feels about her business, or I'm sorry, about her coworker, that there's just something about her that is just not trustworthy. And the second card she chooses for this person is the 5 of Swords. And the 5 of Swords shows 3 figures, one in the foreground looking superior and pleased with himself, and then 2 in the background appearing to be somewhat downtrodden, or as if they lost the battle, or they lost whatever, they lost something. And the card reminds her of her coworker because this person seems to only look out for herself. Clarice takes the time and she writes down all of these thoughts and impressions and ideas. Next, she's choosing a card or cards that represent the situation. And she chose 2 cards. She chose the 3 of Pentacles because the 3 of Pentacles look to her like there is a professional setting and someone is examining someone else's work. And when you look at the card, you'll see that there's a workman, and then there are 2 other people who appear to be somehow superiors. One person looks like clearly is the lower on the class scale, the one that's doing the work, the artisan, and then the other 2 appear to be wealthy patrons or something along those lines. And this card to Clarice looks to me, or looks to her, as if someone is criticizing this worker. And she considers herself to be the one being criticized, and that is the situation. So she's pulling that card to represent the fact that she feels as if she is constantly being criticized. And the second card she chose to represent this situation is the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands shows an individual carrying a bundle of 10 very long, very heavy looking sticks. They look like they're a couple inches in diameter apiece, and this person is bent over carrying them like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. And Clarice chose this card because she feels like if she just works really hard and keeps her head down, why isn't this enough? Why does this person continue to create problems? Next, she chooses the card that illustrates what she might be able to do to address the situation. So she chooses two cards. She chooses the Hierophant and she chooses Strength. She chose the Hierophant, which is a card that illustrates what appears to be a religious figure in a position of power with two acolytes or two people below him who appear to be seeking knowledge or asking questions. In very, very traditional tarot, it would be the Pope and then two bishops or two priests or something. So it's that type of authority figure. And Clarice chose that card because she realizes that she probably, as much as she doesn't want to, she needs to sit down with her boss, who is the Hierophant, and with herself, who is one of these acolytes, and with the other individual. And they need to talk this through, and they need to get the wisdom of the boss, and the boss needs to understand what's going on, what the situation is. And then the second card she chose is kind of a funny one because she chose the card of Strength, which could go both ways. She could look at Strength just based on the title of the card. It's one of the major arcana cards, and the illustration is this very soft, gentle looking woman closing the mouth of an enormous lion very, very gently, very quietly, without a lot of fuss and to do. So she could have chosen this card because she's just asking for strength to get through the meeting, or she could have chosen the card because, gently or not, she really would like this coworker of hers to keep her mouth closed. She'll have to decide why she chose that card. And my mistake, I forgot I had one other card set aside for this particular question that I wanted to give poor Clarice as an option here, and that is the Tower card. And the Tower card is a card which illustrates, looks like a castle tower, and it's crumbling and people are falling off of it in despair and crashing to the ground. And Clarice chose this card because of the people jumping out the window. And she's like, worst case scenario, I can always quit. I can always find another position. I can always just move on. So she's been able to come up with 3 different situations and 3 different possibilities for handling the situation. Now, the second one, asking her coworker to gently keep her mouth closed, may not be the most realistic option she has come up with, but it's an option nevertheless, and it kept her mind moving. It kept her moving forward and thinking about it, kept her looking at the cards until she saw the tower. She's like, oh yeah, as much as I don't like it, there is another option if I absolutely need to. The next card or the next set of cards, would be cards that Clarice chooses that represent how she would like the situation to be resolved. So again, she chooses strength because she would like to have more strength to speak up for herself. She chooses the Two of Cups, which shows on the card two people in an amicable relationship holding chalices up to one another and being in partnership, working together, being cooperative. And she also chose the Six of Wands because the Six of Wands illustrates someone riding on a horse into a crowd, looking very proud and very much like the prodigal son coming home. The one who, yes, I am wonderful. I did this all by myself and I am the best thing next to sliced bread. And coming home in victory. And she wants to feel that way. That's how she would like the situation to be resolved. So she came up with three options: to speak up for herself, and or to try to form a better relationship or partnership with the woman that's been giving her a hard time, or ideally, regardless of whatever happens, she comes home in victory. And that's how she sees herself. That's how she sees this situation being resolved. The last card is the card that she chooses to represent what she can actually do. What are the actions she can take? And she chooses three cards. She chooses the Star, the Three of Cups, and the Knight of Swords. And these are all things that she has complete control over. There's no worrying about if her coworker's willing to be amicable. This is all about her and her empowerment in impacting the situation in some way, shape, or form. The first card is the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is literally a knight on a charging white horse rushing forward into battle. Now, Clarice can choose that, right? She can choose to just be hard-nosed and go into the situation making accusations. She can choose all sorts of crazy, irrational, impetuous decisions. That is something she could do. Might not be the smartest thing, but it is something she could do. The next card she chose is the Three of Cups. And the Three of Cups shows three women dressed in their gowns, or they look more like Greek togas, something along those lines. And they're celebrating and they're dancing in a circle holding up celebratory chalices. So Clarice decides, I could always go for a drink with my friends if I need to. I can get together with my friends and get some support from them. Now, whether or not she should be out drinking with her friends, that's up to you to decide. But regardless, you understand what I'm talking about in terms of getting the support of others. And then the last card she chose is the Star. And she chose the Star because the illustration is of a very calm woman gazing down at a pool of water. And she's pouring water out of two different chalices. And it looks like the water is commingling and it's going from one reservoir to the other. And this card makes her feel calm and it makes her feel peaceful and it makes her feel like I just need to relax and slow down and maybe trust my intuition a little bit and see what happens. Maybe I need to just put this aside for a day or two and see how it goes. So while Clarice may not have a clearly defined pathway out of the situation she's in, she does now have a list of ideas. She has a list of possibilities. She has some options. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to open up, to see what's there, to see if you can come up with any new insights and allow the cards to communicate with your heart and your mind, and allow them to help you, because they really will draw out of you the things that you need to know that may have been hidden by your subconscious. So this concludes the walkthrough, and it concludes the sample reading as well. And my whole goal here is to get you to the point where you are comfortable starting to use the tarot as a tool to help yourself gain insight into what's going on in your subconscious, to gain insight into anything that your higher self wants to share with you that may not be able to come through just because your brain is so busy and because life is crazy. And taking the time to sit and be with the cards and giving yourself permission to allow those thoughts to flow. And even more importantly, to write those thoughts down and avoid judging them. It's really my hope that you will take from this at least a kernel of the possibility that self-coaching with the tarot provides, and see where that goes, see where that leads you. All right, next episode, we will be talking about how to prepare for a reading. At the beginning of this episode, we did just a very quick boom, 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 prepare for the meeting or prepare for the reading kind of thing. But in the next episode, I'll do a little bit more detailing out the steps and helping you prepare both mentally and physically and spiritually for doing a reading. Enjoy your week, everyone. Don't forget to take a look at the online offerings that will be coming up, and let me know if you're interested in taking part in the pilot course. Have a fantastic week. Enjoy, and I will talk to you soon.